The first memorial quilt I made was for a friend of mine. Her father had passed away. The only thing that she got from his house was a box of ties, and she said, "Lori, I know that you make quilts. What could you do with these ties? Could you make them into something?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I could do that." A few years after that, my grandmother died. I was very close to her, and I did one quilt that had her gardening shorts. I remember her wearing gardening shorts and her Oxford shirts and her jeans. It's like this immediate memory, this connection to her. Then I get to hang it on my wall and I get to look at it. I could think about her and think about what we did together. My name is Lori Mason. I'm a textile designer and quilt maker, and I specialize primarily in making memorial quilts that commemorate the life of somebody who's passed away. Each quilt is so different depending on what fabrics you use. I can pretty much use anything from shirts to pants to coats and things like that. And sometimes I use the buttons in the quilt itself. It's always helpful to hear about who the person was, what they loved, what their passions were, what they did, if they had a job, when they lived. Even though you may not look at the quilt and make some sort of perfect connection, it always informs how I think, even what I'm thinking about while I'm making the quilt. And I love that part of it. It's really personal, it's really intimate, and that's sort of what it's all about. Once I've cut the fabric up, I've usually created a design, and so I'll use my rotary cutter and I'll cut pieces and pretty much put together one block at a time. I've discovered that as a culture, we have a really hard time with death and knowing what to say and how to talk to somebody who's grieving. When I was 18, I had a good friend whose sister died suddenly. I was not there for her because I was afraid. And I learned a huge lesson that I can help people just by asking them about their loved one. Once all the blocks are put together, then I'll lay that out on my table and get all the pieces in the right spot. And once that's set right, then I'll sew all the blocks together. It's really important for me to make this object beautiful for them. I'm not trying to tell like a specific story. I'm trying to evoke a feeling of somebody that they love. I'm interested in people finding that spot they can go to feel comfort and to feel like connection to somebody they've lost, because that feeling of having somebody gone forever is heartbreaking. And to be able to have a memory or have that connection and that spark of, oh yeah, I remember that time, or that's sort of what I'm offering somebody, that possibility to have that experience.